Ladies and gentlemen, our maritime harness racing community lost a valued member with the recent passing of Mr. Mike Campbell. Born in Charlottetown, Mike learned his early lessons in the stable of his grandfather, Wall Hennessy. Sleigh rides with Wall and time spent in the barns started a passion that lasted a lifetime. He worked with some of PEI's finest horsemen before heading out on his own. His 50-plus year career led him to harness racing's biggest stages in Ontario, New York, New Jersey, Florida, and the Maritimes. Harness racing also led him to the love of his life, Joan, whom he met at Fredericton Raceway in the 1960s. Together, they campaigned dozens of horses, including favorites like I Gotta Go, Bob Collins, Rose Valley, Volga Will, and Warbucks Pick. Mike was a well-regarded colleague to everyone in our industry. We will all miss his friendship, quick wit, and love of a story well told. To his wife, Joan, daughter Lori, Stacy, Luke, and Leo, as well as many family members who joined us today, we express our sincere condolences. Our harness racing community forms the traditional Horseshoe of Honor in his memory, around a horse held by Mike's cousins Kenny Arsenault and Gordy Hennessy. I ask you all to join in a moment of silence for the late Mike Campbell, which will be ended with the call to the post. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so we're back here at Red Shores, Charlottetown. Race Day Live continues. You're with Lee Drake along with Peter McPhee, and Memorial Horseshoe there in honor of the late Mike Campbell. And I want to give a shout out to Kent Oakes, who has been a longtime family friend, of course, of the Campbells and the family, and he wrote that excellent write-up there on a very fine horseman. And Peter, we're doing a little tribute here to Mike because he was a special guest with us, along with Jerry McCabe, Ken Oakes, yourself, and we had him on the show back in March 28th of 2020, talking about a big day, of course, that he was part of, and that was the Miracle Mile.
Yeah, you're right, Lee. And again, our tributes and sympathies go out to Mike and his family. He certainly was a great guy with a warm personality and loved to laugh, Lee. So again, we're thinking of him and his family today as we do this tribute to Mike, who was on VTR with us, Lee, as you mentioned, back in 2020. And we talked about Mike, the Miracle Mile. 2-minute barrier hadn't been broken in the Maritimes, Lee, and it had been attempted numerous times. Finally, it happened in Fredericton. Mike was in the race with Big Hugh, and he finished second on that day to Clipper Sealster, who was the horse that broke the 2-minute barrier in the Maritimes, 59-3 for Willard Carr. And Mike was on talking about that, Lee, so it was great to have him on, and he was part of that first 2-minute sub-mile in the Maritimes.
All right, so let's bring you back to that segment. Here's a portion of that segment with Mike Campbell.
Here's another story from the virtual tack room.
Yeah, that was quite a night up there. It was one of those nights that only Fredericton can have in the summertime. You could hear a pin drop, and the air was perfect for a good horse race. You know what I mean? It was one of those, the weather was unreal. Anyway, old Willard boy, Willard Carr, he took the sting out of everybody early. Willard was pretty cagey old fellow. A lot of people that never got a chance to see Willard Carr drive a horse really missed out on something, because he was as good as there ever was in St. John. You know, like guys like him and Jimmy Doherty, they didn't need anybody to take them by the hand, I'll tell you that. Anyway, the little horse I got to drive was a horse called Big Hugh. He raced Big Freehold down through Monticello and some of them places, and he was a pretty nice little horse, but that night there, he didn't crowd. He drew the bushes, so that puts you at a disadvantage right off the bat. If everybody doesn't get away real good, you end up coming, from the clouds, I guess you might say. But actually, Willard was supposed to drive him, but he was hired by the Greek there to drive his horses. So the man that owned this horse, he asked Willard who he should get. He told him he should get me, because I'm right up there, But anyway, I come a long ways to get the deuce, and I was lucky to get it. When you're only beat less than a length in a mile like that back then, she was a pretty good trip. I get nothing but good memories about the whole thing, and it was like you said, it was a 7-minute mile. An Islander didn't win it, but an Islander chased the guy that did win it. How's that?
Just another example of just a fine horseman, and we wanted to do a tribute today on Mike Campbell on his appearance on the virtual tack room.